So the first thing I want for you to do is, as we're getting together and we're talking,
Uh-huh.
I'd like for you just to tell me a little bit about yourself.
I'm a pretty open book, and you can really tell a lot of who I am because I'm very open about it. I love, and especially during the coronavirus, I really realized how much I love fellowship. It was really an integral part of my faith before, and I think I've really placed a lot of emphasis on it. I love to fellowship with my family, my brothers and sisters. Um, I like to be able to speak, to sing, and to be very vocal within the church community. I like being able to, lead singing, lead sermons, and a lot of people in the church have really seen me develop in that, and I think that's been really cool. Like not only to have that on video, but to have that in other people's memories and to talk a lot about that. Um, what else? I like long walks on the beach. I love agriculture. Really big in the FFA and 4-H. That's really played a large part in my life, along with fellowshipping. Um, I love to be able to hang out with people and to make new friends. And that's one of the greatest things I like about the church, as I stated before, is all the people. I really like being able to fellowship, to learn, and to develop a relationship with all the different people I come across. And I'm a diehard Aggies fan, so.
Yes, of course. Yes, that was one thing that I liked of your parents sending in the photos, for your senior banquet, and you were 5 years old and still and
Yeah.
already sporting the Aggie shirt. So I know that they raised you correctly.
It's not my fault that I like them. I was raised in a cult.
Hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you've talked about ag and its role in your life. Tell me a little bit about your life goals. What do you see for your future?
That's something that this quarantine has given me a lot of time to think about. Up until now, my big goal has been to get into college and to really do well in school and to do well in my extracurriculars. And I've really accomplished a lot of those. And as great as it feels, I've almost had to take time to sort of think, well, where do I go from here? But I plan to go to Texas A&M. I've been admitted, and I actually just filled out my dorm application or my dorm stuff today. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I plan to major in ag economics with a minor in ag policy. I'm really into a lot of the policy and lawmaking stuff, as I've been in my internship. I actually am interning for a potential congressman, Josh Weingarten, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Vote Weingarten. But that's something that's really interested me, is a lot of the economics, a lot of the policy making. And I really think a lot of my goals will really center around a potential job in, whether that be in Austin or DC, whether that be a market analyst in an agriculture company. But I think one of my biggest long-term goals is to leave a lasting impact and to leave a positive impact for the agriculture industry, and to really be an advocate for a lot of the people who are feeding and clothing the world.
Yeah, well, I think you're well on your way to do that, and I think you've been an advocate for that already. I think you're an advocate for much more than that.
I try to be.
For the ag world, but I think you're well on your way to doing that. How would you, whenever someone first meets you, what do you think their first impression of you is?
Loud.
Okay.
I think that I really pride myself that I don't get nervous around people, or I'm not very nervous in public speaking. And sometimes I think I can be very eccentric. And I think when people meet me, they're like, this guy needs to calm down. but I think when someone meets me, at least I hope that they get the impression that I'm a very positive person, and that I can be very eccentric, and that can also reflect that I can be very fun. And I think it can also reflect a sort of positive vibe. I think that really would carry on, or at least I hope it would.
Okay. So you've mentioned going on, and at some point you will go on to College Station and be able to take classes there. But tell me about some people, whether it's within the church or within FFA or, whatever, but that has made an impact on your life and that you feel you will carry their example or their teachings with you as you go on from university and go on from high school?
That is a really good question. And I think that there are a lot of examples. There are a lot of answers to that question specifically, because not only do we have a very large church family, but we have a large family of leaders. Whether it be Mr. Poland, who really taught me how to lead singing and really how to sing a lot correctly. He played a big part in my development. You and Tim have also been great leaders. I mean, when I heard that you were going to be the youth minister, I was really excited. Not only because I could help with my physics homework, but because I feel like I could really have an in-depth conversation with you, and I have, and I really appreciated that. And I had a lot of those with Tim too, and I've learned a lot about the Bible through y'all. A lot of the men in the church are really just great leaders. They're leaders by example. And I think a lot of the things that I've really learned or I've really developed as a person through watching a lot of those people at the church, whether that be David or Mr. Barrington or Mr. Nelson or Mr. Nixon or a lot of the elders, or whether that be just some of the good role models like my dad, Mr. Thurman, Mr. Jones. They were all just very positive leaders that they didn't have to give commands to be leaders, but they just sort of exemplified that sort of good Christian role model that you would really learn from. And as far as teaching goes, I think I've learned a lot from Mr. Closey, Mr. Fulton over at the Ag Department. They've taught me a lot, not only just how to weld without lighting my clothes on fire, but a lot about the agriculture industry and how to really connect with people and really building my resume, building my brand. That has helped a lot. And I think a lot of the connections that I made through ag have been really positive ones, whether that be state FFA officers or from people not even in the FFA and 4-H, but people who are just leaders in their industry. I've met with the CEO of Justin Boots, with Mr. Walrath, who are great supporters of agriculture. I even got to meet with, through some of my connections, I got to meet with the mayor of Canyon, and I thought that was really cool. He was a really neat guy.
Yes, he's a good man.
Mr. Henders, he's a really cool guy. I love his mustache. But yeah, to sort of sum all that up in a nutshell, I think a lot of my leaders have been through the church, and a lot of them have really just been leaders by example. And I think that's really played a large role in my development as a person.
So I'm going to ask you, this is going to be somewhat of a two-part question. You've been a huge leader within the youth group, and I really appreciate that. And so first, I want to ask you for any advice that you would have for junior hires, incoming junior high. We have a large sixth grade group of them coming into the youth group. Mm-hmm. Any advice that you would have for them? So we'll start with that. And then the second, for those that are about to enter high school, any advice that you would have for them, whether that be high school life or whether that be with, changes within the youth group, the expectations. And so first, with speaking to those incoming seventh graders, what advice would you have for them?
When I was going into high school, like I said, there were a lot of positive leaders, a lot of really good guys in the youth group that I think really set the scale for what a good young man is. Some of those guys are still my role models to this day. I don't know why I didn't talk about them in the previous question, but those are some of my best role models. Treat, Bailey, Spencer, Tyler, Kaysen, Cade. Those guys, they were just the coolest when I was younger, and they are still the coolest, in my opinion. I hope they're watching this. But
we'll make sure they do.
Yeah. But when you get into high school, things can go pretty fast. I look around, like when I'm in the youth group, I'm like, where are all the big kids? And that's when I'm like, I'm the big kid. I'm the treat. I'm the Kaysen now. And that's sort of my unwritten responsibility, is that you're sort of a leader now. and that no matter how secretive you think you are, the younger eyes are always watching you. And I think it's important that that being in the youth group is sort of training, or sort of is sort of getting you ready to be that sort of leader by example. So if for those going into high school, I would just say, whenever you're in the youth group, whenever you're in school, make sure that you're a positive example to the younger kids. Because I'm sure that those guys didn't think they were role models to me, but they sure were. And I probably don't think I'm a role model to any of the younger kids, but I might be.
You definitely
Sometimes you can't, sometimes you don't know. So I would just say to act like you're the man everyone is looking up to, and don't be afraid to really take that with honor and do the right thing, and to really set a positive example for everyone else in the youth group. And to those, I would say, sort of coming into the youth group, I would say this is one of the best environments for you to spread your wings a little bit. This is one of the best environments for you to learn how to meet new people and to meet new people in general. This is one of the most comforting places that you can be to really get out of your comfort zone. That if you're presented with an opportunity to say hello to new members in the youth group, or presented with the opportunity to get in a knockout match with some of the other people, to be willing to take it. That there are a lot of opportunities in this youth group to really build yourself and to really build that fellowship that you have with other people. And once you get to see that blossom, it's beautiful. So I would say to definitely take any opportunity you can, and that the youth group is definitely a place to take positive opportunities, because they always have positive results.
What have you learned? What have you learned about yourself during this time?
I've learned that I really need to develop my self-control. That a lot of it's stemming from responsibility and schoolwork. I really don't have everyone's eyes looking on me to really be a leader. So I've really had to be a leader for myself. I really had to sort of keep myself accountable. And I think a lot of that is doing schoolwork, making sure I'm doing the right thing, even though no one's watching. I really had a chance to really build my character. And as opposed to doing it for other people, I've done it a lot for myself recently. And I think that's been really helpful. I've been able to be a lot more consistent in my workouts, and a lot more consistent in my studying, and a lot more consistent in my studying in the Bible. And I think that this sort of trial of being stuck at home that really no one saw coming has given me a chance to really develop my discipline and develop my character.
Has your view of the future changed because of this pandemic?
That's something I think about a lot during this pandemic. I think, what am I going to be telling to the younger generations? What am I going to be telling my grandkids that I did during quarantine? That I just played Red Dead all day and did schoolwork? But when I think a lot about how it'll impact me, like I said, I think it will sort of gear me up for college, to build up that sort of self-motivation, self-discipline that you need to study and get work done. And I also think that after this is over, it'll be sort of strange to go back. That it'll almost be a bit of a shock, and especially going from doing hardly as much work as I was before, to summer where I'm not doing hardly as much work at all, to eventually going into college where I really have to step up my game.
And the last question I had for you was, you have alluded to it some, but you've talked about some of the positive things that have come from this. And so there will come a time, hopefully pretty soon, it seems like, that we will, come out of our houses and be back in public once again. And what positive changes do you hope to see continue that you've witnessed during this time of isolation?
That's a good question. Right now, it's a very easy time to be pessimistic. It's a very easy time to see what's wrong with the world and what's wrong with what's going on, how terrible it is. And I know that, especially for our congregation, it hasn't been easy. But we're Christians, and Christians need to be opportunists. They not only need to take advantage of different times where they can preach the gospel, but take advantage of times where they can explore new routes of fellowship and explore new routes of worship. And I think this has really given us a chance to, like I said, this has really given us a lot of chance to appreciate each other. But I also think this has given us a lot of opportunity to really see how powerful that connection is. And I think that after this pandemic will not only be a lot more sanitary in regards to everyone just got out of a global pandemic, and we'll need to apply a little bit more Germ-X, but I think it'll really help us appreciate each other and appreciate the fellowship we have. And I think from this opportunity, we can have a chance to really tell people more about Christianity through the activities we do at home and the sort of connection that we have with each other. And that gives us a real opportunity to talk about how great our fellowship is.
I wanted to use this as a time to kind of get your thoughts, and you use this time for the congregation to get to know you. Even those that, I mean, you make yourself pretty easy to be known, and because you are open, as you said at the beginning, and I appreciate that. But just a time for congregation to get to know you, and so thank you for joining me with this. And
thank you for sitting through my long rambling answers.
Hey, you're welcome. I really enjoyed it. But
all right.
We'll just know that we're praying over you, and we wish you the best.
Well, I think this is a really good time for us to show how much we appreciate each other through prayer and stuff.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I'll be praying for y'all too.